the thug governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. You know, Ron, what you could do, of course, this is your God kicking your ass for you after what you did to innocent people. You violated the law laid out of Jesus Christ's mouth about taking care of people when they're strangers in your land, right, Ron? You Catholic prick, you. So you're getting it back 1,000 times over. Now, that's one way to look at it, right? Remember when Jerry Falwell or the rest of these Christian nutcases used to say that hurricanes and storms and earthquakes and tornadoes were because there were gay people living in a certain state, or abortion was legal in a certain state? These crazy son of a bitches. You know, I can't help myself. I get caught into that vortex of madness from these people. When something like Ian hits Florida, where are the Christian preachers? Where are you son of a bitches, huh? Come on out of the woodwork. Where's the 700 Club asshole? Come on. It's because gay people live in Florida, right? You crazy bastards, you. Boy, come on, Malloy. You're 4 minutes into your podcast and you're losing your shit already? Yeah, I am. But there's Ron DeSantis. Ron, why don't you just buy plane tickets for everybody in the devastated areas of Florida and send them on to, I know, Martha's Vineyard? Why don't you do that, DeSantis, you crazy son of a bitch, you? Now, of course, Ron DeSantis is taking a very different calculus in his dealings with Joe Biden and the federal government now, right, Ron? Huh? All of a sudden, you ever notice this about these Christian terrorists, these governors, these people who absolutely do nothing but bitch and complain and make up shit about Democratic Party leadership, about the President of the United States, and then in a horrific emergency like this, in a catastrophe like this, who do they go to? Immediately. Who did Ron DeSantis turn to? Joe Biden. Immediately. Jesus. And this is one of the Christian Fascist Party's most known provocateur, DeSantis. He every once in a while, he'll be on the Fox Sewer or one of these other shithole news outlets to rail against the Biden administration, and he denounces everything is overbearing. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing that. Oh, they're forcing this. Well, how about now, Ron, you diphthong? As recently as this past February, DeSantis said that Joe Biden was someone who, quote, hates Florida, end quote. And he said at that time that Joe Biden stiffs storm victims of relief for political reasons. Ron DeSantis said that Joe Biden ignores people who are in dire straits as a result of something that happened like Ian over the past 24 hours. Well, what now, Ron, you fucker? What now, huh? But now, all of a sudden, DeSantis has got to rely on assistance from the same federal government whose public health guidance he has ridiculed during the pandemic. And beyond that, he's got to work with the very president, Joe Biden. He has embarrassed, castigated, and may soon try to replace. But DeSantis said on the Fox Sewer Tuesday night, he said this, quote, we all need to work together regardless of party lines. And I'm thankful for the Biden administration's assistance. The Biden administration wants to help. They realize this is a really significant storm. You little prick. If it wasn't for the millions of people in the state of Florida, my suggestion would be, hey, fuck you. The people in Florida, you're always railing against the Democratic Party, always railing against the federal government. Oh, all they do is spy on you and force women to have abortions when they don't want them, and give rights to gay people, and try to find housing and jobs for immigrants. Oh, God, what an awful organization the federal government is, right? but let a catastrophe like this happen, and it is a catastrophe. All of a sudden, these right-wing demons, these Christian terrorists, they start whistling a different tune, don't they? All of a sudden, it's not the nasty federal government. It's, help us, federal government. You hypocritical bastards. Oh, man. DeSantis was at a press briefing last night. And he said he had spoken with Biden. Oh, Ron, I'll bet that just fucking killed you, didn't it? To actually have to speak to Joe Biden? Oh, my goodness. And DeSantis said that Biden said, all hands on deck, that he wants to be helpful. DeSantis also said, quote, he said, whatever you need, ask us. He was inviting us to request support, end quote. And earlier, yesterday, he praised the help that Florida is receiving from several federal agencies. But Ron, you hypocritical little prick, you're blowing your whole presidential campaign to pieces. Federal government doesn't help people. Federal government spies on people and does dirty tricks to people and forces white people to put up with colored people in the neighborhood. We know that, don't we, Ron, huh? And I think about all the times that DeSantis, before he became governor in 2018, all the times that he's been endorsed by this filthy pig Donald Trump on the Fox sewer, just over and over and over. Well, and DeSantis's entire tenure as the fake governor of Florida, you might say, has been characterized by a whole bunch of fights appealing to the Trump-aligned Republican base, the Christian terrorists, particularly on social issues. Like a woman's right to privacy over her own body, or the right of gay people to be fucking ignored, or the rights of people who seek political asylum in this country to be respected. Oh, and pandemic response. Oh, yeah. What was it, DeSantis just right up front ripping the shit out of the Biden administration about pandemic response, huh? And one question that immediately came up as Ian bore down on Florida was for how long DeSantis would put aside politics. Once these scummy little bastards need help, all of a sudden, They would never admit it, and they try to disguise the fact, but they come crawling to the federal government. Please help us. Jesus. And in contrast, you take a look at Joe Biden. For decades, and the Christian terrorists fault him on this, for decades, Biden has been one of those across-the-aisle deal makers. Right? But these Christian terrorists sully themselves by even talking to a Democrat. Oh, well, now it's different, Mike. I mean, come on. We just had the wrath of Jesus H. Christ slam into our precious state, run by our precious governor. Why does Jesus hate us, Mike? Man, oh, man, oh, man. And then yesterday morning, Biden made it a point to announce that, he had been in touch with DeSantis at a White House conference on hunger that had been, scheduled for yesterday. Biden said, quote, my team has been in constant contact with him from the very beginning, end quote. And Biden also spoke with a bunch of Florida mayors, and he said that he had told DeSantis that the federal government was, quote, alert and in action, end quote, and that Biden, had approved every request from Florida for federal help. Biden said, quote, I made it clear to the governor and the mayors that the federal government is ready to help in every single way possible, end quote. And Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, also emphasized that temporary sanity on the part of these prick bastards in Florida. She said, quote, there's no politics in this. When we talk about extreme weather, This is about the people of Florida. This is about two people who want to have a conversation on how we can be partners to the governor and his constituents and make sure we are delivering for the people of Florida, end quote. Oh, my God. Well, when it's pointed out, it should be pointed out, that DeSantis is not going to follow the path of Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey, another Republican asshole whose warm greeting for President Obama during an October 2012 visit to inspect damage from Hurricane Sandy, remember that? And his warm welcome caused Christie to be scorned, to be told he was an asshole by fellow Republicans during when Christie then ran for president. And Christie said in an interview yesterday that here we are 10 years later, he said, quote, "I wouldn't change a thing. To me, it always was that the job that I've been elected to do was the most important thing, and the politics at the time was secondary," end quote. And Christie added this yesterday, quote, "I don't think there was anything else to it at all. That's a decision that Governor DeSantis is going to have to make," end quote. And it was at a CPAC circle jerk in February that Ron DeSantis showed up and said that Biden hates Florida and that he stiffs. You like that term? He stiffs us. What a fucking gangster term that is. He stiffs storm victims because of politics. Of course, there's absolutely no evidence anywhere that Biden has ever withheld federal emergency relief for political purposes. That's what Trump used to threaten to do. When Trump, that filthy pig son of a bitch, was in the White House. Not Biden, Ron, your boy Trump. And then DeSantis also, it should be mentioned, he spent months going after federal public health guidance about the pandemic. And in August, do you remember this? He denigrated Dr. Fauci days after the doctor announced that he would retire as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, whatever it is that Fauci's the head of. DeSantis said at a rally in Orlando back then, quote, "Someone needs to grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac," end quote. Well, DeSantis, you know, somebody ought to grab your fat ass and chuck you someplace, maybe into across the Straits of Florida someplace, you hypocritical prick. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.